Hi everyone and welcome back to Meet the Bulldog Series. In this episode we are going to take a look at some of the career highlights from one of the best Romanian players, current Romanian number 2 and the relatively recent member of the 2700 ELO club, our board one, Deac Bogdan-Daniel. Now, even though he is currently not yet at the very summit of chess, he is not yet member of top 10, few people remember that back in the day, Deac Bogdan-Daniel was one of the biggest chess prodigies and talents on the planet. So in July 2014, he obtained the international master title, and at the time he was the youngest international master in history. And as well, when he won his final GM norm in the Zalakaras Open tournament in 2016, he was also the youngest grandmaster in the history. So even though those records have been broken ever since, this goes to show you that he was a very, very big potential. And even though he kinda slowed down a little bit and he didn't quite, become the very top player, for example, like Magnus did, he is still very, very strong and he is very much on the path to it because he recently crossed 2700 and he is slowly knocking on the door of the world's elite. So let's see some of the games of Deac's career. I have chosen 5 ones that feature either nice combinations or are very significant from the competitive viewpoint. The first one we are going to examine was played back in 2012 when Deac was only 11 years of age, and this was an under 15 world school competition, so he was playing with much older and stronger boys. And here he faced a 21-23 rated opponent called Sozin Stepan, and Deac was rated only around 1900 at the time. So let's take a look at this position. We can see that White has the bishop pair and this majority on the queen side, but Black has captured this important e3 pawn and has some activity in the center. And actually, here Deac has the initiative and he found a nice idea. He played knight to e4, threatening this move knight to f2, and with the fork on the queen, and White can't take the bishop on e3 because knight f2 wins the queen. So that is why bishop e4 was played, eliminating this dangerous knight in the game. Rook e4, and now White made a big blunder. White played rook to a3, trying to kinda attack this bishop and maybe force some exchanges and eliminate the attacking pieces. Objectively, they should have played something like queen b3 and keep the rooks protected, especially the back rank. We will see soon why it is relevant. And after rook to a3, Deac played queen to g5, bringing the queen into the action and preparing to double on the e file. And White's problem here is that these rooks are not coordinated. So actually the best move by computer is rook a1 to go back, which just goes to show you how bad the rook a3 move was. In the game, White tried rook takes e3. But after rook takes e3, bishop c1, White thought, okay, I'm pinning this rook and I'm regaining some material and it's not so bad. But they overlooked a very nice trick. If you want, you can try to find it on your own by pausing the video. But here the weak back rank has its tail, and here queen g4, unpinning at the same time and also attacking the queen on the back rank wins for Black, because the queen is immune. You can't take queen g4 because of rook e1 mate, and if you move the queen anywhere, for example queen f1, then rook a3, bishop a3, and this is technically winning. Black is a queen exchange up. Therefore, after queen g4, White resigned. Now let's jump a little bit forward to 2017. Deac was already a very, very strong player at the time. As I said, he already made his IM and JM norms in 2016, and in 2017 he was already rated 2560, so a very solid grandmaster. And in the following game, he faced a 2283 rated player from Scotland named Neil Barry, and this was played at the European Team Championship in Greece in 2017. And we can see this position. We can see that White has managed to positionally outplay the opponent, as you would expect with such a big rating difference. So Black has this isolated pawn. We can see that the pieces are a little bit weirdly coordinated, whereas White has really nice position. And White is completely winning, by the way. Any slow move like knight d4 is already good enough here. It retains a massive advantage. But here, Deac found something like more cheekier, more flashy, and very nice. So you can try to pause the video and see what the move is. And if you didn't find it, the move here is queen to d5. A masterful blow, exploiting several factors. Exploiting this positioning of the knight, exploiting this pin on the rook on c8, and yeah, potentially also the potential pin on c4. So black can't recapture. If they play queen to d5, rook to d5, then they just lose material for nothing. Bishop d5 is of course logical. I mean, why not take the queen? Rook c8. Now we see the point. This back rank is also kinda weak, and the knight has to leave. So knight d8. And now here we can see that there is also this pin on the queen. There is also potential for a pin on this diagonal, and here the move bishop c4 exploits it all. And after rook c4, bc4, the problem still persists. Both of these pieces are too weak, and actually Deac's opponent resigned because this is just they are losing too much material. So yeah, not the most remarkable game, but a very pretty combination. I think you will all agree. Now, as I mentioned earlier, even though Deac was a very young prodigy and he obtained his GM very early in his career, up to a certain point he didn't quite get to the top level, and he didn't get many opportunities to play against the top players of the world. It kinda changed in 2021, because one of the first classical tournaments after the pandemic was one of the legs of the popular Grand Chess Tour, and it was organized in Romania, Deac's homeland, and due to the fact that it was organized in Romania, they invited Deac as a young player and the leading player of the country. So back at the time, his rating was 26-20. It was maybe slowed down a little bit by pandemic, but it was still much lower than everybody else's in this tournament because he was competing as literally the world's very best. So everybody was wondering how he would do and what would happen. And he didn't disappoint at all. So he ended up only on -1 score, which is not at all so bad in a tournament of such a caliber. And he did score one of his biggest scalps so far. I'm not sure, but I think this is like one of his first victories against 2700 plus rated players, especially 2750 plus player. So in the following game, he faced Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, the well-known French #1, and we joined this position. We can see that actually white is in has some advantage because of this weak king. So black is currently a pawn up, but the pieces are all kinda deadly pointing in various directions, and black needs to be really careful. And actually the players had just repeated the moves like this, and here Maxime could have taken a draw, but Maxime didn't want to take a draw, of course, against the lower stated player in the tournament, and Maxime played g4 here, intending to play g5, kick the knight away, and then to create further threats against the king. This is a very strong move, and that was actually a significant reverse. So in these last 3 games, I will be not showing them because of their prettiness or objective beauty of the combinations, but because of the importance and of the level of the opponents. So here, black is in some trouble. For example, if they play a5, like doing nothing, then already g5 comes, and this knight doesn't have anywhere convincing to go, and this is just huge trouble. If you try king h8 immediately, then after g5, knight to g8, queen to h3, you will have to worry very much about the potential attack on the h7 pawn. So that is why here Deac found a, I think, fantastic defensive move, which is, not appreciated by people, but by the engines it is, this move b3. It's extremely good response. The point is to try to divert one of these 2 pieces, and then to benefit from this diversion. So for example, if you take with the rook to keep the bishop on c2, then there is this queen d4 idea, and then you are kinda attacking g4, allowing the knight to go to g4 as well. You might open the attack on f2 pawn, and this is already quite unclear. If bishop b3, which was played in the game, which is normal, king to h8, now the same comes after g5, knight to g8, but the problem is that now this bishop on b3 is not attacking h7. So white has lost some time they will need to reposition it, and actually here queen h3 is not so powerful, because black has some time, so they can play queen c1, target g5 pawn, for example, and it's again pretty much unclear. So the element of time is hugely important here. White played queen to d5, attacking the bishop, and repositioning the queen, bishop d6, rook h3, g6, preventing any sort of g6 or bishop c2s or queen e4s, and also preparing to bring the queen back to g7 if needed. So g6, and here actually this was the culminating moment of the game. Here Maxime should have played queen to e6 to attack this pawn, and after queen to g7, black is very passive, the game goes on, but white obviously has the initiative. However, to everybody's surprise, Maxime played queen to d3 here, also attacking the g6 pawn, but here he overlooked actually that there is this simple move rook f5, and Suddenly it transpires that, okay, the threat to g6 is dealt with, and also g5 is under the attack. And there's not much actually white can do to defend this pawn, because rook g3 is not possible, the bishop covers it, and if queen to e3 you have bishop f4 and you again lose the pawn. So actually in the game I think there was some queen exchange, but actually in the game black obtained an endgame, and then Deac went on converted quite easily. So you might say, oh, this is not a combination, he just got lucky, but I think that you need to provoke your luck, and that he, with these defensive resources like b3, he kind of provoked Maxime into he made his task very much difficult, and then under pressure or under circumstances, Maxime cracked and Deac took him over. So I think it was a pretty remarkable game, and a kind of sign that he is slowly starting to join the ranks of the world's very best. Now, even though MVL might have been the first 27 plus player that Deac has beaten, he was definitely not the last. In 2021, later, in November, Deac participated in the Team European Championship held in Slovenia, and in one of the rounds, or in 7th round of the tournament, Romania faced England, and Deac was paired against Michael Adams, England's long-standing #1 player. And Deac had the black pieces and actually played the Sicilian Najdorf, which is usually not the part of his repertoire, and he obtained a very good, very promising attacking position in the style of Kasparov, and very typical Sicilian style. And we joined the game on move 31. Black has some initiative, mainly because black's next move is kinda obvious, but I'm wondering if you can make the following sacrifice work fully and fully evaluate its consequences. So the move I'm talking about here is the move knight to a4. Simply breaking up the defenses around the king and intending to play b3. And here actually in the game, Mickey played rook e3. He didn't want to take the knight, but then after bishop g5 he ran into this spin, and yeah, it was trouble because he lost some more material. b3 was not prevented, and the game went downhill quite quickly. Of course, the critical test is b takes e4. But here b3 is the move, trying to open up the king, attacking the knight, and also they are introducing some problems on this diagonal a5, e1. So if you take queen a5, then ba2 check, king a2, bishop takes a5, and even though the material is equal, all these pawns are weak. White's king is also relatively unsafe, this rook is under the attack, and this is actually surprisingly large advantage for black, like +4. cb3, if you play, then there is rook b3, king a1, queen to d2, rook to d2, and bishop a5. And now, even though black has only a rook and a pawn for 2 pieces, once again, due to the major weaknesses in the structure, lack of coordination, and also some open files for black rooks, and also lack of safety for white king, black is actually significantly better. Still, that would have been probably better attempt for Adams than what he did in the game with rook to e3, but still, the combination starting with knight to a4 was fully correct, and yeah, Deac collected another big victory, another big scalp. Last but not least, in 2022, Deac was invited once again to participate in the Romanian leg of the Grand Chess Tour, which was this time renamed to Superbet Romania Bucharest. It was held in May of 2022. Even though last year he was a big underdog, this year he was less of an underdog because he had already elevated his rating to 2670, so very close to 2700, but still it was 50 to 100% rating points lower than almost any other participant. However, the tournament followed a very similar course. Deac made some draws, and he did score one victory against an elite player in round 3 against his compatriot Richard Rapport, who recently switched his federations to Romania and actually took Romanian #1 spot from Deac. So it was kind of a very interesting clash of new compatriots and team members. So we joined the position on move 40, so just before the time control, the notorious 40th move. So Deac was having black pieces, and we can see that the game was kind of crazy and out of hand. White has sacrificed the exchange, but black's king is totally open. And here, of course, this knight is under the attack and has to retreat. And here, what white should have done, they should have played knight to f6. And after rook to f6, queen to f6, queen to b5, black has some sort of perpetual check, and the game would end in a draw. However, white didn't do that. White played knight to g5. Not sure if that was time trouble or just simple miss or willingness not to take draw under any circumstances. But I don't know what exactly Rapport missed, but after queen to f4 it was all over. Because now the knight is under the attack, the queen is under the attack, and the rook is under the attack. And also this rook is protected. Now, presumably, Rapport thought that after knight f7 it's all good, but maybe forgot that queen to d2 is now a thing. And unfortunately for him, after queen f4, there was nothing better, rook f4, and now suddenly Black had a completely won endgame with a clear exchange up and a better pawn structure. So yeah, once again, similarly as it with MVL, the stronger player maybe didn't want to repeat or take a draw and that punish them. Maybe not the most remarkable creative achievement, but you know, this is it's a competitive game, and yeah, result is what counts. And I think it's very, very impressive and worth noting that we have a member of Croatia Bulldogs who has classical victories in his career against such players, so I think they should have been included in this little compilation. So this brings me to the end of this video. If you liked it, make sure to check the other episodes of Meet the Bulldog series that are available on the channel. And also, I would really appreciate it if you check the team website or our social media. The Pro Chess League is starting actually today, as I'm recording this on Friday the 17th of February. And yeah, I'm really putting a lot of work behind the scenes, so if you could check it out, I would really appreciate it. If you like the content of this video, if you might also consider checking some of the other content of the channel, maybe you will like it. But in any case, I would like to appreciate you for staying with me until the very end, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in some other capacity in some other video. Thank you for watching and see you soon. Bye bye.